And now you're ready to go.
Good afternoon. I'm here with two candidates, Edward Hodgsock and Rebecca Dangle. They're both applying for the position as first vice chair at Community Board 8. So let's start with the question. I will start with you, Rebecca. Why do you want this position?
Well, first, I'm so glad we could all find a time to meet. So I'm running to be first vice chair, first and foremost, because I love the work of this board and being a part of it. Secondly, since I've joined, which was in 2019, my favorite part has been helping out behind the scenes with a lot of the administrative work. And I think my experience both on the board and in my professional life, where I manage the Hunter College Foundation Board and 12 advisory boards, puts me in a unique situation to really understand the behind the scenes aspects of this role. And I think that is where I will excel, in addition to my familiarity with parliamentary procedure.
Thank you. Ed, same question.
Well, I'd like to say thanks, Rebecca, and for you, Bill and Will, for everyone finding time to do this, and for everyone listening. I think a couple of points why I'm running. I think it's what the candidates for chair have said. We're at an important time for the board. We're at a moment of transition coming out of COVID. We have term limits affecting the board membership coming up in the next 3-4 years. And I think we have an issue with respect to maintaining our institutional memory and setting the board up for a lot of the new members that we've gotten, which is terrific, all the new blood, but for preparing them for taking over when a lot of the folks who've been on for many, many years are going to be transitioning off. And the other reason is I want to be helpful. I want to help the board through this transition and this time. And that means helping the chair and the board in this transition and helping them be successful. And if I can help the chair to be successful as vice chair, then that by extension, I think makes the board successful. And I also think that one thing that we should do is I'll bring my time on the board to the chair. I think with respect to institutional memory and perspective, I've been served for I should say I've served under 5 chairs, been on about 5 committees, have chaired the housing committee for the past 10, have been on every task force since I've been on the board. And I have served with both candidates for chair since they've joined the board and have a great working relationship with both of them. So I feel that that's one reason why, and that those are the reasons why I want to run for vice chair, to be helpful and help us through this transition as vice chair.
Thank you. Question for you, Ed.
Okay.
How do you define the role of first vice chair? And do you have any ideas how to work effectively with the chairperson?
Well, I think to answer that, I would look first to the bylaws. And preparing for this interview, I looked over what the bylaws define as the first vice chair. And it is more than what David Patterson would say with being a lieutenant governor, which, as he always jokes, he used to say, he'd wake up in the morning, call the governor. When he answered the phone, he'd go back to bed. But seriously, though, the vice chair is defined by the bylaws is there to assist the vice chair when necessary and required. There are other 2 elements with respect to taking over for meetings when they're unable to appear, and then if they're unable to finish out the year as chair. But with respect to the important part, helping is necessary and required. Again, as I was saying before about my experience on the board, I'm there to assist the chair. That means to be their able lieutenant, to be their assistant, to be there to help them be successful. And that's what I'd like to do, bring a perspective, whoever becomes chair, is to say whatever it is that they're looking to do, to say, if they ask my counsel, my help, my assistance, I'm there for them, and bringing perspective and institutional memory, which I think brings time efficiencies to what they'll want to do going forward, because I'll be able to say to them, hey, if we try something new, we can say, look, remember when we did X, Y, Z? That worked. This wasn't working as well. Maybe when we do it in 2.0 or 3.0, we bring the good things from before, leave out the things that didn't work, and then bring some of these new ideas. So that's how I envision it, as being there as an assistant the point guard, if you will, there to do whatever it is that the chair needs to have done as necessary and required.
Rebecca, same question.
So of course, I agree with what Ed said. Just to reiterate, the number one thing is if the chair can't complete his or her term or has to leave a meeting, the primary responsibility is for the first vice chair. And if the first vice chair is not there, the second vice chair to take over the meeting. In addition, it is about assisting whoever the chair may be. And I think each chair needs different things from a first vice chair and a second vice chair. Since I became secretary, it was very exciting. We got the secretaries more involved in the executive committee, of which the first, second, and obviously the chair are also members. And we did a lot of work having biweekly meetings. They didn't always happen, but we tried to really look ahead of board meetings, to think about if there was a big topic. For instance, the blood center. During one of the executive committee meetings, I suggested we allow for written testimony since we knew how many people would participate. And I would also say a big aspect is when it comes to hiring staff. And I think we have a big decision to make because we have an open ADM position. And I've loved being a part of those interviews as well, and asking questions. And I think, yeah, as I said earlier, it depends on who the chair is. I think whoever wins this race and whoever wins that race will talk to amongst themselves to figure out how best they can support each other.
Thank you. Question for you, Rebecca. Describe 2 achievements since you joined CB8 of which you're most proud.
Which I'm most proud of. That's tough. It's been a lot. I will say one thing that I am very proud of, and I do view as an achievement, is when I first joined the board, I look quite young. So I was 25, but a lot of people thought I was in high school, but I was still able to run for secretary. And since then, we've always had a younger person in an officer position. And that's something that has made me really proud. I've loved seeing Rami and now Addison kind of continue that legacy. And we also got young members to become co-chairs of the Youth Education and Library Committee as a result. And I think that's very, very important, since obviously we have high schoolers, and who is more affected by youth education and libraries on our board than the high schoolers and the college students, I should say. We have some this year. And I would say my second proudest accomplishment was when it came to contact tracing. We worked with other co-chairs of various committees and Alita, who was then the chair, and we held many forums explaining kind of what contact tracing is, but we also passed some very important resolutions regarding state legislature, regarding some proposed state laws that would ensure that the contact tracing would actually remain confidential. The data would be securely stored. And I hope that, and that when the resolution, when the law was passed, we publicized it a great deal. And I really hope that helped with contact tracing and the concerns a lot of New Yorkers had about what the state would do with that info.
Thank you. Ed, same question.
Oh, thanks, Bill. I'm going to stick to the housing committee for answers to both. I think it's tough, but the first thing I think with respect to the housing committee is I just want to say hats off and thank you to the co-chairs I've had the opportunity to serve with over the past 10 years. And Mrs. Brown, Larry Hockert, Rebecca Lamord, Greg Morris, and some of the stalwart members of our committee. Rita Popper especially comes to mind as just the rock of the committee. But with respect to that, I think it's the outreach. In the past 10 years, people have come to our meetings, have heard me tell this story, but when we first started out, it was Larry Hockert, myself, Posey DeCia, and my son, who was 6, at our meetings. And over the past 10 years, we've really expanded and reached out to the community. And I'm very proud of the fact that prior to COVID, the Housing Committee had built a mailing list of almost 500 people who would come to our meetings. It was coming at that point on became regular meetings, but we built a mailing list that allowed us to reach out to the community and build connection with them and to build the attendance of people who came to our committee. So I was most proud of the way that we've built out the committee. I can't take credit for that. It's everybody on the board and the community, but I'm most proud of that in terms of the outreach and the way that it's become a vibrant committee. We've built it up, and I think I can bring some of the positive things about building that outreach to the next chair if I'm lucky enough to be elected. And again, as to outreach, the second thing I'm most proud of is the Affordable Housing Forum that Barbara Chockey and I did together. Again, before I left Barbara, how could I forget Barbara Chockey, of course, as co-chair. We did, I thought, was an incredible Affordable Housing Forum a few years ago. Part of what we've been trying to do on the committee, and that is educate folks about these policy issues. We can talk as board members, as the community, and really be on a level playing field with the developers and real estate folks who come and live up to the standards of this board in terms of being one of the most prolific in terms of knowledge of the issues. But those two things, the outreach, the forum, which I would just, if you'll indulge me, I would say that we built upon watching Peggy Price and Barbara Rutter. I don't know if people remember, they had a parks forum. I believe it was in the museum. It was in MoMA. It was really quite successful. And I remember at the time how successful it was, and thought that the housing committee should do something to emulate that. I don't know if we lived up to it, but that's a proud moment for me. And sorry to go on so long, but kind of like a proud co-parent on that one.
Thank you. Question for you, Ed. If the chair is unable to fulfill his or her role, would you have the time and flexibility to take on the position as chair?
Yes, without a question. As many of you know, I'm a solo practitioner as an attorney. I do election law, which fortunately does give me a lot of flexibility as my practice area is election law and administrative law. So if the need arose for me to step up for a meeting at the last minute, full board or land use, I can step away from the office where I am now. Or if, God forbid something happened, our chair wasn't able to fill out the year, I think, I know assuredly that my work would allow me the flexibility with time to do that.
Thank you. Rebecca, same question.
Yes, definitely. I would have time. I'm starting a new job soon where I've been promised you'll never find a job with a better work-life balance. But I would say even if work was busy, I would always make time for this board, as I've done during a kind of crazy period at my old job. So I think I will always be there regardless. I'll make the time, but I know I'll have it.
Thank you. Rebecca, the next two questions is a yes or no question. First question, would you treat every member of the board equally on whether or not they vote for you as first vice chair?
Yes.
Ed?
Unequivocally, yes.
And Ed's second question, you intend to run for political office? Yes or no?
Hey, no. No.
Rebecca?
No.
Okay, this concludes our questions. So I'd like to both thank you for your time. So best wishes and good luck for this Wednesday full board meeting.
Thanks,
Thank
Bill. Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Will. Thanks, everyone.
Will?
All right. Thank you, guys.